My name is Emily, I'm 31, and I live in Boise, Idaho. My husband Jacob is 33, and we've been married for 5 years. We just had our first baby, a little boy named Noah, 4 weeks ago. I work part-time as a librarian at our local public branch, and Jacob teaches high school math at a school just outside the city. Until recently, we had a stable marriage. We've had our disagreements like any couple, but we always managed to talk through them. That changed fast after Noah was born, and it all started with his name. Jacob's parents, Linda and Greg, live 15 minutes away. They've always been opinionated. They're the type to drop by unannounced, rearrange things in your kitchen while you're not looking, and leave passive-aggressive comments about how they used to do things the right way. I've dealt with it for years by staying polite and trying not to make waves. It was never worth starting a full-on fight. But when I got pregnant, things shifted. One day when I was about 6 months along, Linda came over to drop off a big bag of old baby clothes. She brought up the family tradition of naming the firstborn son after Jacob's grandfather, Harold. I'd never heard about this before. Jacob hadn't mentioned it once in all the time we'd been married. I asked her about it, and she acted like it was something everyone just knew, like it was written in stone. She said Jacob was named after his great-uncle, and Greg had kept the line going, and now it was time for Jacob to honor the name. I nodded politely, but as soon as she left, I told Jacob that I didn't want to name our son Harold. Harold felt old and stuffy to me. I didn't want my son to start his life tied to a name we didn't even choose ourselves. I wanted something that felt fresh, calm, and strong. I told Jacob I liked the name Noah. He didn't argue. He just said, let's think about it more. I thought that meant we were on the same page. I thought we'd pick something together. Fast forward to the day of Noah's birth. I was in labor for 16 hours. It was painful and exhausting, but I felt pure love the second I held him in my arms. He was tiny and perfect. We looked at him, and I said, he looks like a Noah. Jacob nodded, and that was it. We filled out the birth certificate right there in the hospital. I texted Linda and Greg a photo of Noah with the caption, he's here. Meet Noah. Their response came within minutes, but it wasn't what I expected. Linda called and didn't even say congratulations. She just asked, why isn't his name Harold? I told her we picked the name we loved, that Noah felt right to us. She said I was erasing their family's legacy and that it was disrespectful not to honor the name. Then Greg got on the phone and started in on Jacob. I handed Jacob the phone, hoping he would calm him down. All he did was say, I'm sorry. I know. He didn't defend me. He didn't defend the decision we'd made together. He just stood there nodding and then handed me the phone again, like it was my problem. That was the beginning of what I now realized was a complete shift in our marriage. For the next week, Linda sent me texts daily, all with the same message. You're erasing our history. You're trying to cut us out. A real family honors tradition. Greg was even worse. He told Jacob he was letting me take over and that he wasn't acting like a man. He told him he needed to correct this before it became permanent. Jacob started spending more and more time at their house just to cool things down. Meanwhile, I was home alone with a newborn, recovering from childbirth and trying to figure out how to keep our son fed, safe, and happy. Every time I tried to talk to Jacob about it, he'd say, can we not argue about this right now? I overheard him one night in the bathroom, talking to Linda. He said I was being stubborn and making a big deal out of a name. When I confronted him, he said, it's not worth the stress. Maybe we should have named him Harold. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It wasn't just about the name. It was about the fact that we'd made a decision as parents and now his loyalty was going to his parents instead of me or our son. The worst moment came one Saturday when I was breastfeeding Noah on the couch and the doorbell rang. Linda walked right in before I could even get up. She sat across from me and said, I just want you to know that when Noah is with us, we're calling him Harold. I told her, firmly but calmly, his name is Noah. That's not changing. She burst into tears and said I was tearing the family apart. Then she stormed out. Later, Jacob told me I needed to chill and that I was too emotional. That night, I called my sister Rachel and told her everything. She was livid. She said, Jacob needs to pick a side, and it needs to be yours. I tried to talk to him again the next day. I told him we needed to draw boundaries with his parents. He got defensive and said I was making him choose between his wife and his parents. I said, no, I'm asking you to respect the name we chose for our child. He didn't respond. Relevant comments. User_QuietStorm42. Your in-laws are completely out of line. You and your husband should have full control over what you name your child. This isn't their decision. Ops response. Thanks. I really thought we were past this. I didn't know how deeply they expected to control everything. User_MomsUnited88. Jacob needs to grow a spine. You gave birth. You named your child. He should be standing next to you, not hiding behind his parents. Op's response: I've tried being patient, but it's getting harder. I feel like I'm parenting alone while he plays peacekeeper for them. Part 2. Update. 9 days later. It's been just over a week since everything with the name exploded, and the situation has only gotten worse. After Linda stormed out of her house, I tried to give everyone space, hoping things would calm down. I focused on Noah, doing my best to keep him on a feeding schedule, catch what little sleep I could, and stay grounded. I even told Jacob that I wanted a few days without visitors. I needed quiet. I needed to heal and bond with my baby, but Jacob didn't seem to get it. 2 days after that blow-up with his mom, I woke up from a short nap and found Jacob wasn't home. He had taken Noah. No note, no text. Just gone. I panicked. I tried calling his phone 3 times before he picked up. He sounded annoyed, like I was the one overreacting. I just brought him over to see my parents. They haven't gotten a hold of him in peace yet. I was stunned. Asked why he didn't at least leave a note. He said, I figured you'd still be sleeping. I told him to bring Noah back home immediately. I didn't care if they were disappointed. That wasn't the point. The point was, he took our newborn without telling me, just to pacify his parents. When he got back, we had our worst fight since Noah was born. I told him that what he did was completely unacceptable, and his response was to accuse me of trying to cut his parents out of their grandson's life. I asked him if his mom had called Noah Harold while he was there. He hesitated before answering, which told me everything I needed to know. So I asked directly, are they calling him Harold behind my back? He said, they're just having a hard time adjusting. It's not personal. I lost it. I told him that if he couldn't support me, if he kept letting his parents undermine my decisions as Noah's mother, then we had a real problem. He told me I was acting possessive and controlling. That was the moment I realized we weren't even having the same fight anymore. The next morning, I packed a bag and took Noah to my sister Rachel's place. She lives about 20 minutes away, and as soon as she opened the door, I just started crying. She held me, took Noah from my arms so I could sit down, and didn't ask questions until I was ready to talk. Rachel's been amazing. She helped me get a bassinet set up in her guest room, and even offered to talk to a family law attorney she knows, just in case this turned into something bigger. That's how serious this feels now, like I might need to protect myself legally. Jacob's called and texted a few times, mostly asking when I'm coming back. He hasn't apologized for taking Noah without telling me. He hasn't acknowledged that his parents are disrespecting me and our parenting decisions. Instead, he keeps saying things like, let's not make this bigger than it is. But it's already big. It's not just a name anymore. It's about control, respect, and the fact that I can't trust my husband to put our son first. The only person who seems to get that is Rachel. She reminded me that even though Jacob is Noah's father, I'm allowed to set boundaries, especially if I feel unsafe or unsupported. She told me that I shouldn't go back until Jacob is ready to step up and actually act like a parent, not just a messenger for his parents. I agree with her. I'm trying to give him time to think about what matters here. I told him I'd be open to a conversation, but only if it's just the two of us. No input from his parents. No playing mediator. He hasn't taken me up on it yet. Right now, my focus is Noah. He's healthy, happy, and sleeping better than I expected. Being at Rachel's has been a relief. I didn't realize how heavy the pressure had gotten until it lifted. I feel like I can breathe again. I'm not sure what's going to happen with Jacob and me, but I do know this. I'm not compromising on Noah's name, and I'm not letting anyone override my voice as his mother. Relevant comments. User_firm but fair mom. Your husband took your baby without telling you and brought him to people who are actively undermining you? That's beyond disrespectful. That's a huge red flag. Op's response. I didn't realize how serious it was until it happened. It made me feel completely powerless. I won't let that happen again. Call me dad. As a father, I cannot imagine doing that to my wife. You're not overreacting. You're setting the bare minimum boundaries for trust and respect. Op's response. Thank you. I've second-guessed myself so much lately, but I know this isn't okay. I just want my son to grow up in a safe and respectful home. Update. 13 days later. It's been almost 2 weeks since I left, and I still haven't gone back home. Rachel's apartment has become a strange kind of refuge. I'm grateful for it, but it's not home. I'm still living out of a suitcase. My life feels like it's been put on pause while I wait for Jacob to show me who he really is. So far, that hasn't happened. A few nights ago, I finally agreed to talk. Jacob came over after work. Rachel made herself scarce and took a long walk while Noah napped in the other room. I sat across from Jacob at the kitchen table, a notebook in front of me where I'd written down everything I needed to say. I didn't want to forget anything. The conversation started awkwardly. He looked tired and uncomfortable. He kept glancing at the door like he wasn't sure if he should stay. Asked him if he understood why I left. He said, I know you were overwhelmed, and maybe I should have told you I was taking Noah to see my parents. That maybe told me everything. I stayed calm and told him directly, you can't take our son somewhere behind my back, especially not to people who are actively trying to override our choices as parents. That's not okay. And it's not something I'll tolerate again. He didn't argue. Instead, he said, they were just excited to see him. They didn't mean any harm. I told him, intent doesn't erase impact. You keep defending them instead of seeing what they're doing to me and to us. He stayed quiet. I asked him straight out, are you still calling him Harold when you're with them? He hesitated, then finally admitted, I'm not calling him that, but they are. And I don't stop them. I couldn't hide the hurt on my face. So, you let them pretend he's someone else when I'm not around? He said, it's just a name, Emily. They feel left out. I'm trying to keep the peace. That was when I realized we weren't on the same page at all. I'm trying to raise our son in a respectful, unified household. He's trying to keep his parents happy at any cost, even if it means erasing my role as Noah's mother. I asked him if he was willing to go to counseling with me. I told him I didn't feel like we were on the same team anymore, and that if we didn't get professional help, I wasn't sure we could fix this. He looked down at the table and said, I don't know. I'll think about it. That was his answer. Before he left, he asked if he could hold Noah. I let him. He sat quietly in the armchair and rocked him gently. For a moment, it looked like everything was okay, but I knew it wasn't. After he left, Rachel came back and sat with me on the couch. I told her everything. She didn't say, I told you so, even though she easily could have. Instead, she asked me what I wanted now. That question has been ringing in my head for days. What do I want? I want a partner who respects me, who puts our family first, who protects our child's identity, and doesn't let his parents run over my boundaries like a speed bump. I want Noah to grow up knowing both of his parents love him more than anything and that we stand together as a team. Right now, that's not the reality. I've decided to give Jacob 2 more weeks. If he agrees to counseling, and if he talks to his parents and tells them clearly that Noah's name is Noah, not Harold, then I'm willing to come home and try to rebuild. But if not, then I'm going to speak to a lawyer. I've already got Rachel's contact ready. I'm not threatening Jacob. I'm preparing for a future that I might have to face alone. Because one way or another, my son is not going to be pulled into this toxic pattern of guilt and control. I won't let that happen. Relevant comments. User_books before babies. Honestly, Jacob's behavior is terrifying. He's allowing your child's identity to be rewritten just to avoid conflict with his parents? That's not peacekeeping. It's enabling. Ops response, I agree. That's what hurts the most. He's not standing up for Noah or for me. I don't want this to become Noah's normal. User_honestdad75. You're showing incredible strength. Giving him a window for counseling is fair, but protect yourself no matter what. You're already doing what a good parent should. Ops response, thank you. I'm trying to stay grounded and think ahead. It's hard, but I know what's at stake. Update, 3 weeks later. 3 weeks have passed since I gave Jacob that deadline. It's been one of the longest stretches of time in my life. The days feel like quicksand. Nothing moves, but everything still sinks. Jacob didn't reach out until day 12. He texted me, I've been thinking. Can we talk soon? That was it. No acknowledgement, no answer about counseling, nothing about his parents. Just that. I waited until the next day and responded, yes, as long as it's about counseling and boundaries. He came over that Sunday afternoon while Rachel took Noah out for a stroller walk through the park. It was just the 2 of us again. This time I didn't bring out my notebook. I already knew what I needed to say. He sat down, looked me in the eye, and said, I'll go to counseling with you. That should have been a relief, but I felt nothing. I was numb. I asked, why now? He said, because I don't want to lose you. I don't want to lose Noah. I asked if he had spoken to his parents. He looked away and said, not yet. I figured we could do that together. That told me he still didn't get it. No, Jacob. This isn't a group effort. These are your parents. You need to speak to them. Not with me. Not through me. You. He nodded, but it felt mechanical. I asked him, do you understand what boundaries need to be in place before I come home? He said, no unannounced visits. No calling Noah anything but his name. And no trying to guilt you into decisions about parenting. I asked, and what happens if they break those? He hesitated again. That's where I struggle, he said. They're my parents. I can't just cut them out. I'm not asking you to cut them out, I said. I'm asking you to stand up to them. If they violate our parenting choices, they don't get access. That's how this works. He didn't argue this time. He just nodded slowly. We agreed to schedule a counseling session for the following week, and he promised to speak to his parents before that. But something still felt off. 2 days later, I found out he hadn't spoken to them. Linda sent me a long Facebook message, out of nowhere, titled, "A Compromise." She said they'd be willing to call him Noah in public, but that as grandparents, they reserved the right to honor family traditions in private. She literally wrote, "Harold is our name for him. It connects him to our past. We won't make a scene, but we hope you understand that we'll always see him as Harold." I showed Jacob the message that night during our first counseling session. His face paled. "I didn't know she sent that," he said. The therapist, a woman named Dana who came highly recommended, asked him calmly, "Jacob, have you spoken directly to your parents about Emily's boundaries?" He admitted he hadn't. "I wanted to wait until we were all together." Dana said something that hit both of us hard. If you wait for the perfect moment to do what's right, you give everyone else time to keep doing what's wrong. That stuck with me. After the session, Jacob apologized. "I'll talk to them tomorrow," he promised. He finally did. He told me afterward that it didn't go well. Linda cried. Greg accused him of being controlled. They threatened to limit contact with Noah unless he came to his senses. And for the first time, Jacob didn't cave. He told them if they couldn't respect Noah's name and our parenting choices, they wouldn't be seeing him. At all. Not at their house. Not at ours. Not at Rachel's. It wasn't a dramatic explosion. It was quiet, measured, but firm. And it changed something. Jacob called me later that night. He said he felt like he was betraying them, but also like he was doing the right thing. He sounded tired, but honest. I told him, doing the right thing sometimes feels like betrayal when you've been raised to always keep the peace. He asked if I'd consider coming home. I told him not yet. One boundary at a time. The next counseling session went better. Jacob opened up about how hard it's been to grow up in a house where keeping his parents happy was a full-time job. He said he realized he'd been trying to keep both sides calm instead of actually choosing what was right. He said, "I thought I was protecting Noah by avoiding conflict, but I was just letting other people take over." That was the first time I really saw the man I married again. I've started thinking about what returning home would look like. Not just logistically, but emotionally. If I go back, it has to be a fresh start. Boundaries written down. Expectations clear. No more second-guessing. I still haven't made my decision. Jacob has asked me to think about coming home in a week, if things keep improving. I told him I'd let him know then. I'm watching closely. So far, he's kept his word. Relevant comments. User_Sharp Gardenia. The Facebook message alone is chilling. That's not compromise. It's manipulation. I'm glad the counselor is helping him see that. Ops response. I agree. It didn't feel like an olive branch. It felt like a warning. I'm glad he finally saw that too. User_parenting over tradition. That quote from the therapist should be framed. If you wait for the perfect moment to do what's right, you give everyone else time to keep doing what's wrong. Wow. Ops response. That line broke something open for both of us. It's helped guide every decision since. Final update. 2 weeks later. It's been 2 more weeks. And today I came home. I brought Noah back to the house with me early this morning. Rachel helped me pack up what we needed the night before, and I let Jacob know we were coming. He didn't pressure me. He just texted, "We'll be ready. Whatever you need." When I pulled into the driveway, I saw a small welcome sign taped to the front door. It said, "Welcome home Noah plus Mommy," in Jacob's handwriting. I didn't cry, but my hands were shaking when I unlocked the door. The house was quiet, clean, and different. It wasn't the physical space that had changed. It was the energy. Jacob came downstairs as I settled Noah into his bassinet. He didn't try to hug me. He didn't overwhelm me with apologies. He simply said, "Thank you for giving me another chance." We sat in the living room and talked. This time we had an actual written list of boundaries. Together, we reviewed each one. No unannounced visits, no second names, no undermining decisions, no guilt tactics, and no using family history to manipulate parenting. Jacob had already printed it. He'd given a copy to his parents the day before. He also told me something else. His parents didn't take it well, especially Greg. But Jacob told them the boundaries were final, that there would be no access to Noah at all unless they agreed to them, out loud and in writing. They didn't. Greg accused Jacob of throwing away his roots. Linda said they would wait until Jacob came to his senses. Jacob's response was simple, "Then you'll be waiting." I was stunned, not because he did it but because he meant it. For the first time since Noah was born, I didn't feel alone. I didn't feel like the only adult in the room making hard decisions. Later that evening, Jacob sat across from me and said, "I don't expect you to forgive me overnight, but I want to rebuild this. I want to raise our son as a real partner. You've done everything right. I see that now." We've resumed therapy sessions twice a week. They're hard. We're not pretending everything is fine. There's still resentment to work through, especially on my end. I told Jacob that I'm scared the next time things get hard, he'll freeze again. He didn't defend himself. He just said, "That's fair." We made a plan for the future. We decided that Noah's first birthday would be a family-only event. Me, Jacob, and Rachel. No in-laws. No bending. It's symbolic, yes, but it's also about control. We want to start new traditions for our family. As for Linda and Greg, I don't know when or if they'll come around. Jacob told me he'll keep trying to have a relationship with them, but Noah won't be involved unless they fully accept and follow our rules. No exceptions. I'm not hoping for a reunion. I'm hoping for peace. This story didn't end in dramatic apologies or sudden healing. It ended with something better, clarity. Noah is our son. His name is Noah. And our family begins here, not in the expectations of the past, but in the choices we're making now. Relevant comments. User_bridge and branch. I've followed this story from the beginning, and I have to say, this resolution is the most grounded and healthy I've seen. Setting written boundaries and sticking to them, that's real progress. Ops response. Thank you. It wasn't easy, and it's not perfect, but it's finally ours. That matters more than anything. User_QuietStorm42. This felt like a slow burn, but it paid off. So glad you protected yourself and your son. You didn't give in, and now your husband is finally showing up the right way. Ops response. I appreciate that more than I can say. I didn't know how this would go, but I'm proud I held firm. Noah deserved that.